Marga Attaf says, do you know, what are your thoughts on Mufti Menk? Do you know him? Right, I don't actually know Mufti Menk personally or anything. Obviously, I know of him. What are my thoughts on Mufti Menk? You see, I think they're ambivalent. They're kind of like mixed. I think on one hand, I feel that, you see, Mufti Menk generally, my impression of him is he just tells kind of like, I don't know if I could say innocent, but let's say for now, innocent stories. Just kind of nice, folkloric kind of stories, which are in short clips, and to the masses, he has a very, he has a persona that fits, if I can say that. I mean, the profile kind of fits. He has this very, I mean, he's not that old. I don't know how old he is, but he doesn't seem old at all. But I've heard people say about him, he has a very, almost like a grandfatherly kind of persona. I don't mean he's that old as a but that kind of persona that somebody, I've read this on a few comments about him, that he has, and people, when they want to have a little boost, they watch some of his clips, and he'll just say a nice story about, I don't know, the prophets, or he'll tell these kind of things, and my impression is that's what he does, and there's obviously a need for that. So somebody like me, I wouldn't be able to really tell those kind of stories, because, you see, the problem with a lot of these stories is they're not authentic. So this one big problem, because a lot of what you're telling is just made up. So, you see, somebody like me, I'm too self-critical to do something like that. About prophets and things like that. Maybe, I could tell a story about a person, and even if it turned out not to be true, for example, let's say we're telling a story about a scholar and it turned out that the story wasn't true. To me, there's no big deal. There's a moral in the story, there's a lesson, and, whoever wants to take it can take it, whoever doesn't. To me, the problem with saying that about prophets is people then take it as doctrine. They take it as creed. They take it as though it's the Quran. You understand? And so Mufti Menk does a lot of that. He tells a lot of stories. And a lot of these stories that he would tell, or the preachers tell, are actually made up and inauthentic. In fact, most of the stories to do with prophets are probably made up. So, on the plus side, I feel that people like Mufti Menk, they fill a void. They are there because there is a need. There is a demand. People want folklore. People want to be able to go into YouTube and watch a clip of somebody that looks not like me, for example, but rather than having something like that, they want somebody who's going to have, like, I don't know, a Saudi scarf on. He's going to have a very long beard flowing. He's going to have a much more of an a monastic, kind of like a monk-like, a very ascetic almost, or what they would call pious. I mean, pious, what does piety mean? Piety is not how you dress, but they would call that, oh, maybe that's pious, this person, a hermit-like look. People like that. That sells in religion. Honestly, it sells massively. It sells like hot cakes, people. Being very ascetic-like, being almost distant from the dunya. People love that, though. The masses crave that stuff. It's like, I've told this story before. One of our teachers, he said, there's this Peer Baba in Pakistan, and there was, and he was saying in this gathering that, mashallah, have you seen these billboards? That they were advertising, there's a cream in Pakistan, like I think it's a facial cream, and it's called Tibet Snow. They call it Tibet Snow. That's the name of the cream. Yeah. So obviously they've written it in Urdu. So it's ta ba ta, like that, Tibet. And in Urdu, they don't write voweling. You're just meant to guess what the bloody word says. And it said snow. So, Sin, Noon, Wow, like that, snow. So, he says, this guy looks at the poster and he says, MashaAllah, ye dekho, look at this. Ye keh rahe hain tabbat. Tabbat, the surah of the Quran, tabbat yada abi lahab. Tabbat. He says, ye dekho, ye keh rahe hain tabbat suno. Like, listen, suno, listen to tabbat. So people are like, MashaAllah, ye buzurg hain, buzurgon ki sadagi, MashaAllah. He's so removed from this world that in everything he sees the Quran. Sadke jama. It's like, this is what, but this stuff sells. If you want to really fly in that market, then this is how you gotta be. You gotta act all kind of naive and dumb, and you gotta make these kind of like a simpleton. So a lot of these preachers, although coming back to Mufti Menk, I don't think Mufti Menk acts like a simpleton. I think he does. He is quite funny sometimes, and he can be kind of chilled out, and I think that's really good. So those are the plus side. I think I do like that about Mufti Menk. That thing that he'll crack jokes, he'll try to be funny, he'll try to tell stories and things like this. The problem that I have with all preachers, not just Mufti Menk of that genre, is in this void, in filling this void, they also help concretize this kind of false beliefs. They push them out and they cement them, these stories, and they further spread these stories. So I remember hearing something, I remember walking into a shop and somebody had a lecture of Mufti Menk on, and he was talking about the flood of Noah, and he was getting passionate, and he was saying, well, and the whole world was drowned in water, and don't listen to these people because Allah says it in the Quran, the whole world was flooded with water, so we know this. But that's not true, and neither does Allah say in the Quran the whole world was flooded with water. This was just a regional flood. But you see, when you're going to so passionately preach this and then tell people, look, it's in the Quran, then you're partially responsible for that kind of thinking that kind of then permeates the Muslim crowds, because your clips are viral, so you have that responsibility. That's where I disagree with people like Mufti Menk. I also disagree with him. He pushes sometimes a very stern, a very kind of strict interpretation of Islam, and I think he has to do. My personal thinking is that Mufti Menk isn't as strict, nowhere near as strict as he portrays himself. So I think in 50% of what Mufti Menk probably preaches, he probably doesn't believe. Obviously this is just my thinking, I could be wrong, but I don't think he believes in about 50% of probably what he preaches, but he's not exclusive in that. You'll be surprised. Most of the scholars are like that. So he might say to people birthdays are haram, but himself he might not believe that. I don't think he personally believes that, but he will say things like this because he's got to speak in accordance. He must echo the sentiments of that crowd. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on people like that. But generally, I think, I'm sure he's a great person. I would love to meet him, sit and have a chat with him and things like this. I'd love to do that, but yeah, let's see. Cool. What else is going